Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick XL. I'm your host, Mr. Boomstick XL, obviously. And of course, we have an incredible show planned for you today. As you can see, the panel is stacked with some of the community's finest. We have two amazing guests joining the crew for this evening. We have a tremendous amount of really hot topics that I think everyone is going to enjoy. But you know what? Before we get into the fun part of life, we have to just take a minute to recognize some sadness that has occurred yesterday morning. I don't think there's a person on the planet that doesn't know Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, and 7 others passed away in a horrific helicopter crash in Los Angeles. And I felt it necessary. Not only because I was a fan of his on the court, but I was a fan of him on what he did off of the court, how he, retired from basketball and became a model citizen. So many people. He did so much charity work, and he did so many. Obviously, he was a big family man, so this is a big loss for his family. So I would just like to take about 30 seconds to do a moment of silence for those 9 people that died yesterday, and then we'll continue on with the show. So let's do that right now. All righty. Well, thank you so much for understanding, ladies and gentlemen. I do greatly appreciate it. So let's get in, of course, to what everyone is here for, and that's to talk about gaming. And in order to do that, I have the privilege and the honor of working with some of the community's finest each and every week on all 3 shows that I do, which, of course, is Primetime Gaming, Breakfast with Boom, and the Xbox Factor podcast. And of course, before we get into the topics, I'd like to introduce some people that I enjoy working with. And you know some of them as being regular panel members, but we also have 2 guests. So let's start with our guest. First of all, he is a gentleman that has blocked 8,672 people for being dicks. He is one of the community's most generous human beings that I know. He speaks without having a forked tongue, and he's someone that I like to consider an extended piece of my family, and I would call him brother. Please welcome Wilmy Hood.
Well, thank you, Mr. Boom. Glad to be here. And this time, unlike November, I'm not dying. So, and for the record, I have 19,000 people blocked.
Okay, I want to make sure we get that.
Yeah, we were close. But I'm here. I'm ready. Let's do this. Let's talk about all this awesome gaming news, this conspiracy theories, and all that great stuff to do with gaming.
Well, listen, I want to thank you for being here, dude. Honestly, it is a pleasure. I hit you up early. I was late last week to see if you were going to be available, and I'm glad that you're here. Next up, and you know what? Normally, when Dreadpool is here, he's doing his resident superhero act because, obviously, there's been times where I've kind of been stuck with, with guests not showing up or panel members getting sick. Obviously, I'm a family first show. So if you can't be here because of family, well, then you know what? It's just a stupid podcast. You handle your business. But today, he's here because guess what? I reached out to him early over the weekend because I wanted him here. And the fact of the matter is that he really does bring his A game every time he's on one of my shows. So, of course, I want to welcome Dreadpool. Welcome to the show, dude.
Oh, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I put the cape away today, so I left it on the hanger. So this time I'm in the suit, just the regular 3-piece suit. No, I'm not. I'm just t-shirt and jeans. But I'm excited for tonight. I can't wait.
Well, listen, it's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna have a lot of fun, a lot of interesting topics to talk about. We're gonna take a little bit of a trip down some hypothetical lanes, and we're gonna break it all down. But next, I want to introduce someone that when you see him on Twitter, He is someone that, again, does not have a forked tongue. He's not afraid to tell like it is. He is the emperor of his own army. Please welcome So Shady.
Hey, thanks, Boom. It's good to be here. Everyone, thanks for showing up. I can't wait to talk some of these games. Speaking of Twitter, man, I don't know if anyone else saw Wilmy's earlier. I'm just wondering if he took a couple of souvenirs home from his job site today. My God.
We were talking about that pregame, and I had a pretty unbelievable story that I will not tell on the air because I don't know who's listening, and it's pretty gross. But that picture,
it was sweet. A couple of sweet set pieces, I might say, right in that picture.
That story ruined my dinner 52 to be exact.
Yeah. Woo, hope you wash your hands there, Wilmy. Either way, let's get to the games, man. I can't wait. Let's do it.
Okay, great. Next up, you know him as being one of the community's finest. He's an awesome father, but he's also our inside man to everything that goes on behind the scenes on GameStop. Please welcome Gaming Forte.
Yo, man, it's been a great day. Finally, think I'm getting over the tragedy of yesterday, being the huge Kobe Bryant fan that I was. So also being a father, knowing what happened in that situation,
was pretty rough. It's devastating.
It's pretty rough going through that yesterday when I found out about it. But hey, man, it's about gaming today. And to commemorate that, I'm going to make sure I got this case for NBA 2K10. He was the cover athlete. So I'm going to find a way to get this blown up and put on my wall somewhere.
Nice.
But, man, it's good to be here amongst friends. And the biggest thing I always tell you guys, and I said it on Twitter earlier today, you never know what can happen in a day. Always make sure you tell the people closest to you that you love them to death and let them know, and always reach and be kind to the people that are around you, because the things you say now can definitely impact the things that make you feel later. So other than that, let's talk about some games, man.
No, absolutely. I mean, listen, obviously, we were going to be talking about games, but you know what, folks, at the end of the day, and I say this at the end of all of my shows, and it's not a catchphrase. It's my dad taught me this when I was a kid. And I think that I'll say it at the beginning of the show, and I'll say it at the end of the, at the end, as I always do. Treat others how you want to be treated. I don't think that's some sort of, I thought my father was a prophet when he told me that when I was a kid. I'm like, my God, this guy is so smart, but it's simplistic, but it holds so much weight. Treat others how you want to be treated. I think that we could all learn and live a little better if we did that. And it doesn't cost anything to be nice. Remember that, folks. It's not costing anything out of your pocket to be a good guy or girl. So don't be a dick. Give someone a handshake. When you see someone down, give them a pat on the ass, because life is short. And before you know it, you can have the greatest day and it could be over in a snap of fingers. And we saw that tragedy happen on Sunday. So, obviously we're not going to be a downer, but we have to just keep it real because life is real. And last, and no way least, obviously, we know him as the Sniper Elite. He is someone that made a living cutting down fools in online multiplayer. He is someone that has lived the MMO life and will never come back. Please welcome Tempest's son.
I like the new intro. It was awesome. And seriously, when I say it feels good to be back, I had to miss last week, and man, I'm still new to this podcasting thing, but when you do it and you do it weekly and you miss a week, it's like, oh crap. It's like, this is, our outlet to talk to like-minded people about games. And I can only take so much stupidity on Twitter, man, without being able to talk about it. It's crazy. So I'm excited to be back. I love the topics that we're going to be getting into. So I'm excited. Let's do it.
Well, listen, we're going to open up with a good one. Obviously, the hot button topic is, and I think is going to be for the remainder of 2020, is the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. But this particular story is something that everyone has been talking about, everyone has been doing videos about, and even just to make sure that I dot all my I's and cross all my T's, I checked on some numerous sources up until the minute before the show went live to make sure that there wasn't anything breaking that would contradict the story that I wrote over the weekend. And I am talking about the potential and the rumored huge exclusive from legendary developer Rocksteady Games in the form of DC's biggest hero, Superman. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because this story broke, and the Games Radar ran this story. But what's interesting is that this leak was maybe about a week ago, talked about the big Xbox leak that I talked about on the Xbox Factor podcast last week. They talked in that particular leak. They talked about Microsoft working closely with Rocksteady. And for the story that we're going to cover right now, Games Radar was the one reporting, and thanks to industry insider Osiris Black, the same forum user who recently dropped details on what sounds like a very much next generation The Order 1886 sequel that we talked about on Breakfast with the Boom on Friday, and previously locked down most of the details for the PlayStation 4 Pro ahead of its reveal, is at it again, and he has grabbed the attention of gaming across the board. And I'm going to say this right now: if by some reason or somehow or a tremendous amount of zeros, Microsoft, more specifically Phil Spencer, has an exclusive, even if it's only a timed exclusive for like a year or so, if they are somehow get their hands on a Superman game that's going to be running on the Xbox Series X, it is going to be, no pun intended, an absolute game changer. And the reason why I can say that with full confidence is you have to hearken back to the PlayStation this generation. Spider-Man is the highest selling PS4 game. It is an incredible game from start to finish. I understand some people don't dig it. That is fine. I happen to put well over 50 plus hours into it and loved every second. I cannot wait to get my hands on 2 whenever that is released. We know that Insomniac is probably hard at work. But you know what? Before I continue on, because I don't want this to get out of control, I have to thank 2 people. First of all, my very good panel member, Wilmy Hood, became a channel member. So, Wilmy, thank you so much for that. And let's see, we had just one just pop up just now. And the Blue One, thank you so much for becoming a channel member. That's very kind of you. And certainly, right after that, Nightwolf 3186 with the outstanding and extremely generous $10 super chat. He says, "Hey Boom and panel, sorry it's been a while since I've heard a live show. Since still my favorite podcaster along with RDX crew. Can't wait for these topics, especially for the KOTOR news. Get 'em, Boom." Well, thank you, dude. I really appreciate that, and I love that you're enjoying the content, because as a content creator, that's what we all strive for. But continuing with this leak. Osiris Black posted a handful of videos, and this is where it gets good, because it's not just about Superman, and this topic is, but I have to mention the 2 other games. In the video that he did, he talked about Killer Instinct 28 weeks later and Superman in response to a question about third-party launch exclusives for the Xbox Series X. Now, they added that Microsoft's E3 presence in June is going to be hard to beat, considering that Sony is not attending E3 2020 and Nintendo only does its annual Treehouse event. The stage is set for Phil Spencer and company to literally bring down the house. Now, I'm going to go to our resident superhero fan, and I'm going to start with Dreadpool. I want to go to you first, because obviously you are a hero in disguise, but now everyone knows your secret thanks to me. I have to ask the question. Now, again, we don't know how true this is, but Osiris Black has been right more times than he's wrong. And knowing who he is, I don't know the guy. We don't sit down and have Dr. Pepper or anything, but I follow him and I've read his work. And the guy doesn't come off as a pompous ass. He doesn't come off someone that's looking for attention. He breaks these stories, and he's usually right. In your opinion, how big of a game changer could this potentially be? And again, I'm speculating that it wouldn't be exclusive as a whole. I can't say that for sure, because the dollar talks, right? And Rocksteady hasn't done anything in a while. And Microsoft, from what we've been hearing, are really kind of doing things a little bit different. Maybe going back to that old Xbox 360 swagger where they would spend the money and get those exclusives. How big of a deal would this be for the Xbox platform to get the Man of Steel as an exclusive?
Well, first, if this is true, I want to buy that man a beer, but I'm not promoting drinking. But I really want this to happen. This would be awesome. I mean, we've had superhero games, just nothing really groundbreaking. I mean, we had Batman that finally broke the mold. Then you got Spider-Man that pushed the boundaries a little bit more. I mean, it's still a Batman game for some people, but it is a Spider-Man game. So now to have a Superman game that's not 15 frames per second, you know what I mean? Let's get something something where we can actually fly. And Anthem has done a great mechanic for flying. So if we can get something like that, the only other game that I could think of was Disney's Infinities when they actually had characters flying. It was a better version from what we had in the past, but obviously Anthem has stepped it up. So if we can get Superman to literally fly and do Superman's powers, the old game just really I don't know what they were even thinking. I think they were on stuff, you know what I mean? But this would be awesome to see this happen, to push the comic book hero genre even more. It's not just here we are in a 3D world, flying. We're actually doing something more, something that feels like you are Superman. You are flying and fighting and being a superhero. So yeah, this would be great. I don't know.
Well, I mean, listen, it would give them something that they haven't had before, right? I mean, obviously, one of the I mean, listen, if you follow this industry like I think we all do, and everybody in the chat, first of all, we have 232 people watching already, and the show is only 17 minutes in, which is really unbelievably humbling. I just want to, before I get into my spiel, I just want to thank everybody for being here, because my God, that is unbelievable. And on days like this, I have to pinch myself because I'm happy to have one person watching. So thank you, honestly. But if you follow the industry, the one thing that Sony did very well, and they continue to do well, is that they got lots of second-party deals and third-party games on their console. And the word exclusive only came during the list wars that people get into, because they actually technically weren't exclusive. They just weren't on Xbox. Now, obviously, we saw how that tide is changing, and Phil obviously was just in Taiwan, which we're going to talk about on this week's Xbox Factor podcast, and what exactly he was doing there, or at least what I think he was doing there. And we've heard from different sources and different Reddit forums and different leaks that Microsoft is this generation that's going to start in the fall of 2020. It's a different Microsoft. And I think they're already starting to show their colors on how different of a Microsoft this is and how aggressive they want to be, because the bottom line is that, some people may not admit this. Everyone's like, oh yeah, Phil's a good guy. He's not going to do anything devious, right? He's good guy Phil. He's good guy Phil. Yes, let me tell you something. I love Phil Spencer for his persona, but at the end of the day, he's a businessman, and guess what? He wants to win, and they understand what they did wrong. But Gaming Forte, I want to go to you next on this, because obviously this, and I sent you guys the show notes, right? The part of this information that had me incredibly out of my mind was that he mentioned 3 games other than the Superman, and the other 2 games have relevance. First of all, he talked about Killer Instinct. Now, I've been banging this drum, and if you guys can go back and pull an Xbox Factor podcast from a year ago, and I've been banging this, saying that Killer Instinct, the proper Killer Instinct 2 was coming, but then we heard that they weren't working on anything. Right, that kind of got debunked, but I don't mind being wrong, so I'm still banging that drum. They talk about 28 weeks later. Now, 28 weeks later, obviously, it was a movie, and it's a game being made from that franchise. And I got to be honest with you, I don't necessarily think that they need that as an exclusive unless it's some sort of a single player, Days Gone kind of a thing, because obviously they have an incredible zombie franchise with Undead Labs, and we know that they're currently hard at work at a AAA version of State of Decay 3. That's coming, and that's going to be AAA. That they're gonna finally be able to put what they wanted from paper to product, and I'm excited for that. But it's this Superman rumor. Now, again, folks, take everything with a grain of salt, because I'm just going on the information I was able to find, and it is a rumor. But we have heard from different sources from different places, and Rocksteady keeps coming up in these rumor mills. And Forte, obviously, exclusives sell, but hero exclusives really sell. In your opinion, how big of a deal would this be for Phil Spencer and company to lock down a company like Rocksteady, who put out 3 amazing Batman titles, and them finally putting out a Superman title?
Man, so it would be a change from what we've been used to for this whole generation. Microsoft was so risk averse at the very beginning of the generation when it came to just purchasing studios and just trying to get exclusive content just for games in general. So this would be a huge departure for that, and it would be for the best, because I think the 360 is like literally the blueprint for why Xbox succeeded so well during that generation, is because we had a lot of the third-party support when it came to all of the different exclusive stuff that we got, from just having full copies of games to having just DLC added to our system for a month earlier than anybody else can get it. So those are all beneficial things, but if you can actually tap into that player base of people that just want to play games like Batman and play games like Superman. We already seen what Spider-Man can do. Now, Spider-Man is a huge IP, and it's the most sold game that PlayStation had to offer this generation. So we all know what can happen if they actually go and make a proper game that actually speaks to the gamer in the avenue of what they actually want to see. For me, Superman would be something that's super amazing. I am a huge Superman fan. I know a lot of people that are Superman fan, but if they can pull that off and get that as an exclusive, that would be a game changer just for Xbox in general. And I don't think people understand how much of a game changer that would be. But overall, I think Microsoft has a lot of different things that they're trying to accomplish before the Xbox One X Series X is released. And overall, it's this would just be another feather in their cap if they can pull it off, especially if they can get even 6 months exclusivity. Or I think Rocksteady is a perfect studio that they can have a marriage with, because they proved themselves with all the Batman games that they did. And if they can do something like Superman and really knock it out the park, especially with the flying, and I'm down for that, not having 30 frames per second or 20 frames per second in the Spider-Man and the Superman game, if they could pull that off, that would be even better.
I mean, listen, it's certainly food for thought. And, again, we keep hearing that Microsoft is looking to take a page out of its own book, or more so, take a page out of Sony's book. Obviously, Sony took pages out of Microsoft's book for this generation, and they really capitalized on that. And I think that when you again, I'm not going to sit here and try to debate who's the bigger hero. Is it Superman or Spider-Man? I'm a Marvel guy, so I'm going to go with Spider-Man. But I'm going to say this: Superman, the Man of Steel, has never been done correctly. Maybe back in the days in the the 16-bit era, where it was just side-scrolling Superman shooting lasers out of his eyes as you press the button, going pew pew pew. That was probably the best Superman game. Certainly, Superman 64, not so much. But if anyone could do it, if anyone had the skills on the planet to figure out what the hell to do with a Superman game, that strongest hero, it would be Rocksteady. And again, some people will say, well, wait a second, Boom. I saw articles that say they said in 2018 they weren't doing it. But here's the thing. We're in 2020 and things change, opinions change. And guess what? Money money changes, hands that is. And when someone's going to come to you with a check with a whole mess of zeros and says, hey, do you want to do an exclusive? How many more zeros do you want me to tack on to this thing? Because Microsoft needs to be aggressive. They want to win. They want to be in first place again. And I think that this is how you do it. You spend the money. And quite frankly, they do have the capital to make this kind of investment because, obviously, if this does come to fruition, we're going to get an exclusive Superman game, and an exclusive Superman game will do what? And I'm going to go to Tempest Sun next on this. Tempest, what do you think that's going to do? I think it's going to move consoles the same way that, I don't know, maybe it happened with Sony and obviously the PS Slim and Pro with Spider-Man. What are your thoughts on that, dude?
A couple things first, right off the bat. I didn't think Spider-Man, Sony fronted the bill, so it is what it is, but I don't think any long-standing IP that, like a Spider-Man, a Superman, a Batman, I don't think it should be exclusive to anything unless that current platform just can't handle whatever it is that's being made. Like, if the Switch or something can't handle it, Second of all, I don't like Superman. I'm one of those. I wouldn't know if I'd call me a Superman hater by any means, but he's just not my favorite hero. But just because I don't like him, there is no arguing that he is right up there. If he's not number one, he might be number two or number three, right behind Spider-Man and Batman. It just is what it is. He is he's been around since the 50s, I believe, right? The 50s.
Yes.
You can't top that. He is as iconic as they come. Everybody says you can't make a Superman game. I disagree. As far as I know, I'm more of a Marvel guy. It is what it is, but I kind of a little bit keep up with DC. I don't think he's as near as powerful as he used to be in the new run of comics. I think he's more vulnerable than he's ever been, as far as I know, from what I understand. I don't know if it's the new 52, I believe, but he's just not as potent, and because of that, he might not be as indestructible. And you know what? If it's a video game, if you think he's indestructible, you rather find a way to make him vulnerable, or you just introduce stronger bad guys. Period. You do what you got to do to make a good game. This would be dynamite. If it is from Rocksteady and it's somehow an actual exclusive, obviously exclusive to PC and Xbox, but
right.
But it'd be huge. I don't know what else to say. Would it be as big as Spider-Man? It'll be close. You know what? And even though I might not like the character, I got to be honest with you, it'd be interesting playing a game where you can fly around at practically light speed, on the Earth and do all this crazy stuff. Maybe that's why you haven't heard anything from them. Maybe it is a Superman game, and the only way to make these environments load in as quick as they need to is this new SSD. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe they had to wait till the next generation because they have been silent. And that is about the only other thing that leads me to believe that it might actually be some form of exclusive. They're just waiting for the right time and for the next generation. They haven't said anything at all. So
right.
It's unusual for a company like this to be so quiet. And obviously they've been working on something this whole time, and it is Rocksteady. I like Batman, again, not my favorite, but those games were incredible, especially Arkham City. Just from Arkham City alone, I'd be willing to give the benefit of the doubt to literally anything that Rocksteady makes, to be honest with you. So it's fantastic if it happens. I honestly don't like it. It's fantastic for Microsoft. I don't think any character like that should be held down to one platform. I just like, even though it ended up not being a great game, and I did get it for PC, I didn't like Street Fighter V. But when I found out Street Fighter V was going to be held away from the Xbox, I was like, well, that sucks, because I spent hundreds of hours playing Street Fighter 4 on my 360. I have friends online that I used to play those games with, and it got yanked away from us. It's like, well, that sucks. I kind of felt it when it was only a year exclusive, and the media got that out of Phil real dang quick when it was Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
They couldn't wait to ask him that question. Is it exclusive forever? Is it exclusive forever? Well, guess what? It wasn't, but I could understand why some of those fans were pissed off too. So I don't feel like it should happen, but for the company, it's kind of a no-brainer. It'd be a huge success. So,
I mean, listen, it's going to be interesting. And I mean, listen, if you like playing the odds, I don't. I report on what I'm able to find. I know a couple of people are asking in the chat, was this debunked? Well, I can say this. I obviously up until literally minutes before the show went live, I went to Twitter and I looked at Rockstar's official page, and before the only post since December 23rd is the one that they got from the I think it's from maybe 2 or 3 days ago, where they announced that finally the Batman skin for the Arkham Knight it was available for free, and it's a PlayStation exclusive. Oh, by the way, and that's available to download for free. And that's they've been working. That people have been waiting for that particular skin. So that's the only thing. And I checked I checked the forums. I checked the different articles on it. The article ran 3 days ago. And what's odd, what's very strange is normally Rocksteady themselves respond immediately to when a new rumor comes out. Like when we've heard rumors about them coming out with a Batman game, or for instance, Rocksteady gonna be at the Game Awards. They debunked that themselves. No, we're not going to be at the Game Awards. Sorry if people got excited, but we're not going to be there. Well, we haven't heard anything from Rocksteady, so maybe the silence says something. I don't know. Again, this is what we do. We speculate, and when we have actual news, we will discuss that. But this is a topic that not a lot of people are talking about, and I think that right now, superheroes are in. I can't get enough of them. But I want to go to Wilmy Hood, and then and closing out this topic, we'll go to So Shady. But before I get to you, Wilmy, I have to thank a couple of people. First of all, iDizzy81, dude, thank you so much for being here. He drops a $5 subject. He says, I'm here. Thanks for the show. Personally, not really caring for Superman. Here's another one. But it would sell. He says, but it would sell. There's a lot of Man of Steel fans. Give me a Fantastic Four game. Well, a lot of people, Fantastic Four. We have to wait for Marvel to reinvent the first family, because everyone is still reeling from what Fox did and those horrible adaptations of them. But Reform Tone drops a $5 super chat. He says, Mr. Boomstick is one of the most humble podcasters, period. One love, my man. Keep it up. Great work. Well, dude, that is very awesome of you to say. Thank you so much. And JD Gamer, hey JD, welcome to the show, dude. He drops a $5 super chat. He says, Disney is licensing out Marvel properties. We know that MS has the money to secure these properties. Why haven't MS bought a Superman X? Why haven't Microsoft bought them? Hashtag Superman XSS exclusive. Well, listen, you know what's funny? Bob Iger himself, who's the CEO of Disney, if you don't really keep your ear to the floor with what's going on with movies, has already said that they are going to be licensing out not only Marvel characters to other developers. I think that we could be talking other developers for Star Wars. And you're not going to believe that we have an amazing Knights of the Old Republic topic that we're going to be getting to. And I have some theories that should get everyone really hot in the pants. But until then, I want to go to Wilmy Hood. Wilmy, listen, dude, obviously, again, some people like Superman. Some people don't like Superman. And I guess that's okay. See, me personally, I would rather like an Iron Man game exclusive or a Captain America game. Now, we are going to get the Avengers later this year, and you're going to get to play all of them. But a Superman game done by Rocksteady, now that sounds like a match made in heaven. What are your thoughts on the possibility of this happening, and how big do you think this potentially could be for the actual Xbox platform in the next generation?
If it happens, it would be great for Xbox. It would be terrible on social media for a few days after it was announced. Me personally, I don't get into the superheroes at all, but I did really play a lot of Batman Arkham Knight. I would really like to see a new Dreadpool game. I think that'd be pretty awesome.
Yes, I agree.
Because
I think so too.
I'm not into superheroes, but I will watch the hell or play the hell out of Dreadpool. But it would be a huge thing for Microsoft if they can do it and if this is actually legit. But I kind of agree with earlier. It shouldn't be exclusive. I mean, if they have it for 6 months to a year, because I think everybody's getting tired of this exclusive banter back and forth. If Microsoft can get this and they can put it in their ecosystem, you can play it on PC, on your Xbox. I think they'd get a lot more, run out of it. So I'd like to see it happen. I'll probably, if it does, I'll probably play it just because I did play Batman, and Spider-Man on the PS4. So I'd probably end up playing it anyway. But I'd like to see them do it. So let's hope it's actually true.
Well, again, like I said, rumor. We're reporting on a rumor. I hate even say reporting. Well, we are reporting shit. We're talking about a rumor that could potentially be real. It's shown up on several different, different places. I'm not saying, again, obviously maybe one rumor and they ran it over here and they ran it over there, and there's your 3 places that are talking about it. But needless to say, we do know that Microsoft is going to be ultra aggressive. We do know that they're going to do things differently because obviously they want to win, folks. I mean, listen, second place, okay, but they're currently in third place behind the Switch. And I think they know what they did wrong, and not having, major exclusives like Sony had could, is certainly one of the issues why there's a 2-to-1 ratio. But so Shady, I want to go to you on this because I don't actually know what your affinity is for superheroes per se. But if you could get a Superman game from Rocksteady, knowing what we know of what they can do with the flying mechanics that are similar to a game that you happen to love to death in Anthem, where you had full reign and control over said character, can you see this working? But more importantly, how important do you think a deal like this would be for Xbox?
I'm with a couple other guys on the panel here. I'm not a fan of established IP that's out there, that's owned by multi-billion-dollar companies being bought up by other multi-billion-dollar companies for exclusives. That kind of stuff just helps companies, not gamers. I like to talk from a gamer's perspective. Okay. So I'm not going to, cheerlead it, to be honest. If anything, I'm glad that it would be Microsoft, if true, because they give, today anyways, the most access to their games. You can either play them on a console, you can stream them through xCloud coming very soon, or you can play them on PC. So I would expect that to be the same with whatever title this is. I know the rumor, like we've been talking about Superman, but it also includes possibly a Justice League game, which I would prefer. That is correct. Yes, I would prefer because you could be Superman in that as well as other heroes. And then same with the Suicide Squad game, which I would also prefer just because there's a more variety cast there. But if true, I have no problem with it being like Superman. If it is, I think that one of the things that lead this rumor to possibly be true is the fact that we have heard absolutely nothing from Rocksteady regarding what that actual studio has been up to for like 5 years. Nothing. Yeah. And I think if this game was going, whatever they're making, if it was going to be on every platform day one, I think that they probably would have been teasing it a bit more than zero. But because this is rumored, of course, like if true, let's roll with it, that it being true. I mean, if Microsoft is paying them money, then they've also under NDA by Microsoft now. It's up to Microsoft to reveal the game, not Rocksteady anymore. If this is a thing, of course, right? So I think that's one of the reasons that we haven't heard anything from Rocksteady is if they've sold off an exclusive game, then they've sold off their ability to promote that game themselves. And right. Microsoft might not be ready to talk about it until it's way closer to release. They might want to spring it like it's available in 6 months. It might truly be a next-gen game. Mm-hmm. Who knows? But I think that might be a reason for why Rocksteady has been quiet. If this exclusive rumor is true, of course, this is all just rumors. But I would definitely take the ensemble games over just a Superman game for the reasons I said, just more people to play.
I agree. But, I agree with you. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I actually had that in later on a part of the notes that yes, it could in fact be a potentially a Justice League game, giving you access to a multitude of heroes.
Yeah, which I think would be cool. Like maybe even like I've heard a lot of people say Superman games are impossible to do right because you're indestructible. I'm like, it's a video game. game, arguably, Spider-Man is virtually indestructible. This guy's throwing cars the distances of foot with no problem.
He's throwing buildings for crying out loud.
He's so insanely strong that he could kill every person he fights with like a finger flick. Yet when you play, he's getting KO'd. Spider-Man's getting knocked out by some thug. Like, it's a video game. I'm willing to suspend my disbelief at the end of the day. I'm also not a video game writer, so I'm not going to come up with reasons as to how Superman could be weakened. I also think Tempest is correct. The new Superman in comics has been toned down and can actually just kind of be pummeled to death. He's not just indestructible because the sun's up. It's been tweaked. Either way, I think it could be good. I'm just not a big fan of like exclusive stuff. I would hope that it's timed at the most. Time it up for a year at the absolute most, and then release it for all gamers. That's best for everyone involved, money-wise, and it exposes the game to more gamers. So if the next one is also a timed exclusive and people don't want to wait, maybe that's when they get to jump into your ecosystem. Stop locking this kind of crap down. I'm not a big fan. It's one thing when it's your own studio that you own and you're creating your own IP. That's one thing. But going out in the world and buying up popular stuff because you got money to throw around, I myself am not a fan of it. And here's a big example. Stadia is currently bragging that they've locked down 10 high-profile exclusive games on a timed basis over the next year. We don't know what those games are, but I can only imagine if they are huge, banging games that we're all looking for, and Stadia has them for a year. That means that if you want to play them, you can only play them by subscribing to Stadia or streaming games via Stadia. If you don't have the internet, you're not doing it. If you don't have the bandwidth, you're not doing it. If you don't want to, too bad. At least with Microsoft having an exclusive, you can play it on PC, you can play it on your console, or you can stream it through xCloud. Sony, I'm assuming, is going to be the same next gen. You'll have console, you'll have PC, and you'll likely have a streaming option as well. So, I mean, who's on board for Stadia exclusives? Anybody? Let alone a super huge, high-profile one?
No, thanks. No.
Like, imagine if it was something huge, just the next Dying Light 2. That's why it's delayed, is because it's actually been bought up by Stadia for a full year. Like, no one's going to celebrate this. And I think that's when everybody, even the people that champion exclusives, because it currently favors the platform they like, are all of a sudden going to be booing it all because no one wants to play with Stadia right now. Right. And if they're doing it, then why is it good when your platform of choice does it? It doesn't hurt me at all if this game that Rocksteady is making comes out on every single platform, a calculator included. It doesn't. It's going to scale up to my brand new system. It's going to be incredible. I'm going to be able to talk about my enjoyment of the game online without being tackled by the other sides, whoever they may be, because they don't have it. So they're looking for reasons as to why it's garbage. Remember Puddlegate? And everyone, all of a sudden, Spider-Man is trash because it's missing a few puddles. I mean, I poked fun. The puddles were gone, but the game was still great. Puddles regardless. Like, exclusive stuff just brings out the worst in this community. It doesn't help gamers. It doesn't help any gamers anywhere. It helps companies, and they're already rich enough. So, I mean, I just hope the game's great, whatever it may be. If it is exclusive from Microsoft, I hope it's timed. And I'd like an ensemble game more than just a Superman game, really.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I think that at the end of the day, it's if it was an ensemble game, if it was a Justice League game, it would be relatively, interesting. And, at the end of the day, they want to move consoles. But real quick, JD Gamer drops a very generous additional $10 super chat. And he says, not a fan of all the exclusives is everything talk. But I recognize that people invest in platforms because of exclusives, i.e., I pay for CBS All Access only because it has Star Trek. Exclusives matter. And I would agree with you there, dude. I think exclusives do matter. I think exclusives mattered to a certain, community who enjoyed putting lists on YouTube.
They do. The difference with his example is that he doesn't have to go and buy a CBS All Access box.
No, he doesn't.
It's on the TV. Any box that'll stream stuff will stream that as well. So that's a totally different thing. Netflix and stuff, they need exclusives to differentiate themselves from Disney Plus. I have them all, and I'm glad to because of those exclusives. If I had to buy a specific box for each of them, I would be losing my shit. That's my issue here. I don't want a Switch. I don't want one. I want some of the games on it. So I bought the Switch. I don't want that Switch, though. All of a sudden, because I have it and I'm playing those games, I'm not all of a sudden like, oh, so glad I got this Switch. No, I'm still pissed that I had to buy my way into that ecosystem, into a console that I don't want. That's the same with PlayStation, this gen and last for me. I did not want a PlayStation. I ended up buying it because I wanted a few games. Therefore, those few games are way more expensive now. I've come to the realization for me, it's no longer worth it. I'm not doing that anymore. After almost 40 years of gaming in that window, I'm done being a multi-console owner, especially because today's tech via streaming and putting games on PC and whatnot is here. If you're going to lock it down to one box, I'm not going to support that kind of stuff anymore. I've never been excited to go out and buy another console because there's one or two games that could be on mine, but a corporation paid so it isn't. Like, I'm not a fan of it at all. I don't want those consoles. I want a few of their games. And in today's ecosystem, they can give me access via different methods, and I will gladly buy them day and date. I will be there day one for Sony's games and be proud to play them. Right now, to hell with that. I wait and I buy them used because I'm just not a fan of the lockdown to one box only ecosystem. This isn't 1980, 1990, 2010. This is 2020. Everything moves forward. It's time the ecosystem around the biggest form of entertainment moved forward as well. And there's no such thing as console exclusives anymore. Everything's going to be streamed everywhere. Guaranteed.
No, I mean, listen, everyone had, first of all, the chat is completely on fire. And I want to thank everybody. Most people playing nice. I've seen a couple of nasty responses. I just want this for clarification. And I have to defend my very good friend, Philly Eagle. When he said earlier in the chat that it's completely flying by, someone had said Sony owns Spider-Man. The answer is you are wrong. Sony does not own Spider-Man. Sony owns the rights to produce films based on the webhead, and that is it. Marvel, as well, DC, Disney owns all of the video game rights for every character. That includes everyone. And that also includes all of the toys and the PJs and the cereals. That's all Disney. The only thing that Sony has control of, that they can do whatever the hell they want with Spider-Man, is in the movies. Now, Sony, it being exclusive on their machine is because Insomniac is now an exclusive developer for them, and they've made a deal with Marvel to have that character exclusive. But that's a deal that they made with Disney. Just understand, and Philly was right when he said that, they don't own Spider-Man. They own the movie and film rights.
The very obvious example for that, Boom, would be why the hell would Sony have had Activision making mediocre Spider-Man games for a decade as opposed to making Spider-Man exclusive that whole time? It's because they don't control the video game rights at all. They're currently renting it. And from what I can tell, they had one game because it's just unlike Sony to not be screaming, we have a sequel to Spider-Man 2, the biggest game sold on PS4 coming, guaranteed exclusive. We've heard nothing. I'm still convinced that's a multi-plat game coming next is the Spider-Man 2. Marvel's going to be like, thanks, Sony, for making Spider-Man relevant again. Listen, we're going all out.
You heard it here first.
Dude, I've been saying it for 2 years. Since I got into this podcast, the who owns Spider-Man and if the sequel is going to be exclusive to Sony or not has been my hill to die on, dude, for 2 years. Just
look at what happened with MLB, right? MLB The Show has been an exclusive for Sony for 2 decades, right? That's right. Right,
and Major League Baseball was just like, we're tired of locking out customers. We're sick of it. So Sony, if you want to keep making this baseball game, you can, but it's going everywhere now. And Sony bent the knee. Guess who else is a massive, massive company that is insanely aggressive when it comes to business? Disney. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Disney just said, hey, Sony, if you and Insomniac want to go all out hardcore again and make the sequel, cool. It's going everywhere, though. Or the formula is already there. The hype is already there. We'll go to another third-party AAA developer that is salivating for it, and we'll give Spider-Man to them, and they'll make another Spider-Man game where you're swinging around and fighting guys, the established, tried and true, and it'll sell 20 million because it's everywhere. And Sony will bend the knee. I'm convinced of it.
No,
this is the future.
well,
This
listen
is the
again.
way gaming is games everywhere.
Someone's going to screen cap this or tape this, and I hope that listen. I'm not going to sit here and say that if Spider-Man stays an exclusive, I'm not buying the collector's edition that I bought the first one. I loved Spider-Man. Like I said, I put 50 plus hours into it, and I'm a little pissed right now because for some reason my save seems I don't have PlayStation Plus anymore. And the save is saved in the cloud, but it says that it's on my console. And guess what? When I load up Spider-Man, because I wanted to play the DLC that I just didn't get around to playing, it's not loading my save.
That is so dirty.
I just want to clarify again. I'll tone it down just a little bit for some of the people. At the very least, you will not need a PS5 to play the next Spider-Man.
That is very true.
By then, they will be streaming with their Azure servers that they're lining Microsoft's pockets with cash to use. They will stream their games everywhere. So you will not need a PlayStation 5. I almost can guarantee that. You can stream Spider-Man to any device, just like every game that's coming in the future here, right quick.
I mean, listen, it's going to be interesting. I'm still banking on it being an exclusive, but hey, man, you just never know. But I want to move on to the next topic, and I want to go to this one because not only have I been trying to, I did this story a week and a half ago. I didn't get around to do it on 2 shows, and because Tempest Sun and myself and many people in the chat are such big fans, we're going to talk about Assassin's Creed Ragnarok, which apparently it's not called Ragnarok anymore. But let's get knee deep into it. A new leak suggests Assassin's Creed Ragnarok is cross-gen, co-op, and contains the biggest open world yet, making my excitement levels for 2020 even higher. Now, more interestingly enough, I hear someone's mic is real loud.
That was me.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
He's growling.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
That's why I laughed.
More interestingly, though, the latest Assassin's Creed Ragnarok leak is so detailed. It's so crazily detailed that it's hard not to take at face value. So let's break this down. If there's one thing that comes to mind when I think of the next Assassin's Creed, I can say without a doubt that it has the potential to possibly be the best in the entire series for so many reasons. Now, if you look back to Assassin's Creed Origin and Odyssey, they transformed what Assassin's Creed was, and it went from just mediocre missions and mediocre locations to actually being an open world game that had huge RPG mechanics added to a franchise that was, to be honest with you, was getting really long in the tooth. And many in the community agreed that this change needed, and this facelift, everyone was excited to see what was underneath the wrapping. Now, the Norse mythology saw huge success in obviously 2018's God of War. And from what we've been hearing for the last 6 months, it looks like that is exactly where players will be spending their time with Ubisoft's next big release. Now, of course, I want to go to Tempest Sun because you've been chomping at the bit, and I pulled this story back because I know one of the days I was going to talk about it, you couldn't be here. First of all, one of the biggest things, one of the biggest unbelievable changes that are in this leak is that apparently, based on the leak, Assassin's Creed Ragnarok is going to be 4-player co-op. How crazy would that be?
Oh, is that a real question, Boom? Yeah, come on. How crazy would it be? I'm telling you, dude, like the whole time, you can't help yourself. The whole time you're sitting there in Odyssey, because I liked Odyssey a lot more than Origins. And the whole time I'm sitting there, like my wife will be sitting next to me watching me play it because it's freaking awesome. I'm sitting there, I'm just like, what would stop them from letting somebody run around with you, in this thing? It just felt so perfect. So 4 players is even beyond what I was thinking. Like 2 would be perfect to me, but 4, I mean, if they're going to do 4, they better have some really, really difficult and large scale tasks or wars or whatever it is. Which
you would imagine that based on Norse mythology, we're going to get huge bosses that may require 4 people to bring down.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like that's why Odyssey, it finally, I think think took enough of a leap to just put the fantastical in there. But I wanted more. They did it so well. Like, if you haven't played it, if you haven't fought that Minotaur, the first time you go down in the dungeon, the buildup is crazy. I mean, it's a long.
It is something out of a movie. That's how well it's done.
Fantastic! It is so good, and it's the scariest, most wicked, vile-looking Minotaur I've ever seen. And the fight was phenomenal. Like, never in my wildest dreams did I believe I'd do that in an Assassin's Creed game. By all rights, they're no longer the Assassin's Creed games. Like, they can't rename them because the name is why so many people still tune in to see what it's all about. But it's definitely like just a new series. I mean, it is a tried and true at this point RPG. Is it as a hardcore of an RPG as like the Outer Worlds or Skyrim? No, it's not, but it is definitely still an RPG through and through. The amount of like unique loot you can get, just everything about it is great. 4-player co-op, I don't know how they do it, but I'm all for it. And one thing I got to say, when you look into these leaks, one of them is they're saying it is this gen and next gen, cross gen.
Yes.
So one thing I got to say is this narrative about this gen holding back next gen is bullcrap, because if this thing actually manages to be twice the size of Odyssey, I boot up Odyssey at any given time. If I haven't played it in a while, the first thing that pops through my mind is, holy crap, I forgot how ridiculous this game is. It is absurd how large this game is. You can go up. I've taken screenshots of it. I've gone up to the tallest mountain I possibly could. Took me a while to get up there. By the way, there's a cool little like Excalibur, kind of like Easter egg up there. But still, I took shots and I was like, what's just crazy? I can't believe I'm playing a game where I'm up here and those little islands in the distance that look real tiny. If I want to, I don't have to.
You can go there.
Nothing. I just run there and I could swim there if I wanted to. It's ridiculous. And if this is going to be twice the size, it's honestly hard to even imagine that. Like, I can't comprehend how big that actually is. That's absurd. But going into these leaks, the Viking theme, I mean, the picture that you have up right now, look at that guy. Like, I would not want to see him in any alley, even in broad daylight. I just wouldn't want it, dude. It just looks so awesome. I mean, the lore, the places you can go, if you really dig deep into the mythology, I really hope that they just dig in even more than they did in Odyssey into like the fantastical, the fantastic realm. If they do that, I'll be tickled pink. And just everything, like, you could have big shields this time. Axes, the weapon diversity would be different than Odyssey. They could mix things up there.
The ship battles are going to come back in a big way.
Oh yeah, they have to. Yeah, they absolutely have to. It's just, once again, I can't stress enough. If you haven't played Odyssey or Origins, but Odyssey, to me,
Odyssey is probably my favorite of all time.
Yeah. Same here. As a matter of fact, that was my game of the year 2018. Even though I played Monster Hunter more, that was my game of the year because to me, it was just that impressive. Growing up with these systems, seeing how games have progressed, the fact that randomly in 2018, they could release a game that just quite literally made me say, holy crap. I mean, spare no expense on that game. You go into the water, it's not just some blue canvas. No, you'll see whales swimming by you. You see hundreds of fish, sharks. I mean, every ounce of that game, for how big it is so meticulously detailed. It's ridiculous. So at first you think, how can you make something twice as big? It's going to be diluted. It's going to be this. It's not going to be as good. I say bullcrap. I trust this team. I think the game's going to be awesome. I literally can't wait for it. I mean, just the Viking theme alone. Like, even if you were just put a Viking theme skin on what Odyssey is, I'd be all for it. But the fact that they're going to be making these improvements, and I'll be looking for a couple people to play this game with if it is co-op.
Yeah, no, listen, that is going to change. I mean, listen, Ubisoft has been doing a lot of advancements for their games, and they're not just cranking out sequel after sequel. We obviously knew that we got the masterpiece in Origins because they took an extra year off, so it had been a full 2 years, and this was after the one in France, which was horrendous. I think it's Unity. Yeah, Unity was terrible, and Unity, if you recall, back then had the ability to play with 4 players.
Good.
I mean, if Unity, that nightmare, could have it, well, I'm pretty sure that maybe Ragnarok could as well. But I want to go to Shady on this one, because Shady is our resident multiplayer guy. As much as he loves a strong single player campaign, multiplayer, Shady, is where you live. And if we can get graphics and story and lore, what we know that Ubisoft is, has the skill to do, along with the potential of 4-player co-op, would you be diehard into this?
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I'm all over the time period too. I grew up thinking Vikings were like kind of lame, man. I don't know why, but I was always like, it's the same looking guys with the horns on the hats and the boats with the shields. I was just kind of not really into them. And then I saw the History Channel show Vikings, and it completely changed everything.
I mean, a guy like this right here, look at this menacing fucker. Look at that.
Oh yeah, and like just the lore was sweet. They've got wicked, like their religion is pretty cool, and Assassin's Creed the game has really gone in deep on like the mythology of the setting that they're in. There's like you're fighting monsters and minotaurs and Medusas and stuff like that in the last one. So I'm interested to see what they could do with Vikings mythology. And then the cooperative, of course, this wouldn't be the first time that Assassin's Creed done it. They did it in Unity, but unfortunately that game launched with just crazy bugs. It runs near flawless today, but it got buried under the controversy, which is unfortunate at the time. But it had co-op, and when you got some guys together that are good at the game, for one, I mean, it's a stealth game. It's nothing worse than playing a stealth game and one of your buddies is an absolute lunatic and he's strolling out in front of the AI left and right all the time, blowing everything, blowing the missions. It sucks. But when you got a couple of guys that were hardcore like ninjas and you get into a game like Assassin's Creed co-op, my God, it's incredible. And one of the reasons I love co-op is I love watching my cooperative buddies kill the AI. If I'm shooting at something or I'm about to get a headshot in a sniper scope, right in my scope, instead of me shooting him, I see my buddy's shot come in from the left and the head just explode. Like that to me is almost better than me shooting him. Yeah.
Hey, real quick, you just made me think of something. You were saying your friend's a lunatic. What if they actually put some like group play mechanics in there? Like you have tanking mechanics, maybe. Like everybody's facing this one dude with a big old shield and axe, and then your friends are
distracting him with the old Leroy Jenkins. He runs in, just everyone's looking that way. Will I sneak in the back, save the princess? Yeah, that'd be cool, man. Like I'm all on board. And that TV show, like I was ignorant to everything Vikings. Surprisingly, actually, we kind of all are. They're one of the most mysterious old cultures. They did things, went places and stuff like that. We just don't know. They didn't leave a lot of stuff behind for us. But man, it would be cool. The way that they invaded Europe and like bred into the royalty is crazy to me. I just had no idea that was going down. And to hear that this game might be doing essentially that, I think also blends in perfectly to the Assassin's Creed lore, where we look at certain guys back in history, Napoleon or Hitler and stuff like that, and you find out that they had like a piece of the apple of Eden, when one of the reasons that they were able to accumulate the power that they did and like dominate people's thought processes. So being able to have like one of the Vikings get it, and that's why he's able to raise such an army with him, cross the seas, once thought to, dip off the end of the world, find the new world, and then basically breed your way to the top of that is pretty intense. And I think that would make sense story-wise. I'm totally on board with this. The last game looked gorgeous. I mean, it is virtually endless if you want to just play it forever. There's like literally infinite randomly generated missions on the daily that you can go out and do and get new loot and stuff. It's crazy. So I've been a big Assassin's Creed fan since the very first one, and I'm a big Ubisoft fan. Some people say they're very formulaic. I happen to love that formula. So
me too. I would agree.
I'm always down for some new change. The last couple of Assassin's Creed games did change up a lot of it. Some people hate it. I did enjoy most of what they did change, some of it not so much, but overall it was a great experience. And I think that this setting is brilliant. Vikings are hot today. I think the show did a lot. Obviously God of War did a lot for that, and there's been a couple other games and stuff that are doing it as well. It's just it's a motif that a lot of people are digging, and I'm hyped because this is going to come at the launch of the new gen. So not only will I have my brand new system, but I'll get to play top tier Assassin's Creed game. They took the last year off, so I'm expecting something truly special here.
No, I absolutely agree. Gaming Forte, I want to go to you, but before I do, just want to kind of touch on this leak a little bit. The leak was provided, obviously, by an anonymous tipster, which they usually are, right? Very few people put themselves out there. But he was citing connections to the game's development team and summarized it on Reddit. And this is what he claims. The Assassin's Creed Ragnarok does indeed place you in the waterlogged boots of a Viking and will see release this September, with an official reveal apparently coinciding hand in hand with the rumored PlayStation meeting for the PS5. And that's supposed to take place February 29th now that we're hearing. For you personally, do you want a bigger, more in-depth Assassin's Creed? But how does being someone who plays multiplayer, who lives in the world of Destiny, how amazing would this be for the franchise to add 4-player co-op?
Man, well, the biggest thing that most people want is to be that's the way of the future. Everybody wants to play with their friends. Everybody wants that co-op multiplayer experience in every game. Some games don't need it, but it's always going to be something that everybody's asking for. Assassin's Creed attempted that once, like you said earlier, with Unity. And I just think the way that the games are set up now, the vast vistas that these games has, just the size and scope of them is pretty incredible. You can pretty much, if you see it, you can go there, and that's one of the best things that Assassin's Creed has going for it nowadays. Especially if you're going to do it in a Viking setting. The one thing about the Viking setting is it's all about camaraderie and about the people that are around you, and it's pretty much like why some people really like Sea of Thieves. It's that type of co-op game where you do that type of stuff together. When you're a Viking, you're rolling with other Vikings, and I think that's going to be something that they're going to really, really dive deep into. I just think it's really good just for the fact that the size of these games have become so immense that the more people that can populate those worlds with you, the better your experience will be overall. I think that would be a win-win for most people when it comes to Assassin's Creed, and that would be something that would definitely be a breath of fresh air for the game overall. If people do get a chance to play with their friends in that type of sandbox, but they can't compromise the overall story progression of the game, because like a lot of people play Assassin's Creed just for the story that they get from those games. And like Shady said, the way that those missions populate for like just the infinite side quests is like Witcher level on some points. And that's the one thing that I love about Witcher is like, even when you do get a generated mission, it's pretty much something you probably never done before in the game, or at least haven't done consistently so much to the point where you're tired of it. So I think that's a really, really good thing for them to do. I hope that this is something that they implement into the game, and if it is, it will be very welcome to a lot of people. And that's going to be what next gen Assassin's Creed is going to be, co-op, honestly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think co-op is the next. I think it's the most logical evolution, right? Like if you look at where they were and where they've come to, obviously Unity came out. It didn't do so well for obvious reasons. I think they kind of bit off more than they can chew. And then obviously they took a year off. And we had, now there was one, I just don't remember the name of it, with the brother and sister. It's like a steampunk kind of one.
Yeah, that was Syndicate.
Syndicate, yeah, Syndicate. Well, if you didn't play that was fantastic, man. Yeah, and that secret ending, which I won't ruin, and what era they went to. If you got as far as I did, and you actually went into like a crack in time, I'm not going to ruin it for you. But it was mind blowing where they went to at the end of this, secret ending, and they never went with it. Kind of shocked me a little bit. But then of course they took a year off, and we got Origins. Now Origins was a graphical upgrade in every way. They completely overhauled the game itself, making it more RPG like. And then, of course, Odyssey took it to a new level. They took it to a level that was just unrivaled. Now, Wilmy, I want to get to you. According to Games Radar, where I pulled this story, what's interesting is the details. with this particular league. First of all, you're going to be able to choose your gender once again from Ragnarok's main protagonist, and apparently the name on this league is Jora, Jora, which leads a small band of fellow Vikings that will allow for drop in, drop out co-op, and kind of what this sounds like to me a little bit is there's a Ghost Recon Wildlands where you were with 3 AI buddies, but those 3 AI buddies could be taken over by your friends. Now, I don't know if they're going to do that. That sounds interesting, but at the same time, it worries me. But just again, keeping with this leak, they're saying that the map is twice as big as Odyssey, which I can't even fathom how that's possible. And then they talk about you're going to be traversing through Northern Europe, including such cities as York, Paris, and London. For you personally, are you an Assassin's Creed fan? But more importantly, what are your thoughts on the size, scope, and of course the 4-player co-op being added?
I'm all for the co-op. There's no doubt about it. I've got a lot of friends I would love to sit down and play this with. I'd love to stream it actually, but because a lot of us have been trying to find a game that we can have more than 2 people, in co-op. And me, I've got 132 hours into Odyssey now. I've gotten all the way to Hades, and I had to step back from it a little bit. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I need to play some other games at this point. But yeah, I mean, you can get lost in Odyssey, man. It is just, there's always something to do. And, I've played through it. I think I'm like a level 78 on Odyssey. So
yeah, I'm up there, dude. I'm in the high 80s. I could not stop. I have 200 hours in that game.
Yeah, and you just can't. I mean, there's always something else to go do. And I got to Hades, and I'm like, okay, I've got other games to finish. But I'll pre-order the day it comes out, man. I would love to get my hands on a new one. And if it's going to be twice the size of Odyssey, Jesus Christ, it's going to be
people's lives are over.
Massive game. Yeah, you remember back when Skyrim came out, they made T-shirts that said "Married, Single, or Skyrim." That's going to be kind of the deal with this. It's going to be Married, Single, or Assassin's Creed. But people would dump probably 1,000 hours into the new one easily. But yeah, the co-op is the best part of it. In my opinion, I really want 4-player co-op. Most games now, I mean, like Destiny, you got a group of 3, unless you're doing the raids. And personally, I know Forte's playing Destiny as we speak.
That wouldn't surprise me in the least.
But I can't do the raids in Destiny, man. I've tried to do them, and somebody made the comment a second. I think it's Gunplay. Doing a raid in Assassin's Creed, that would be awesome.
That would be dope.
And I can't do them in Destiny. It takes too many hours, and I don't know. But I would love to see this new Assassin's Creed.
Well, I mean, listen, it's coming. It's going to be here supposedly in September. Apparently, and usually the Assassin's Creed games, at least the last couple, have gone to Microsoft. But apparently, the marketing rights for Assassin's Creed Ragnarok is going to be Sony's, and that's pretty interesting. And supposedly, according to the leak, that they're going to be showing this running possibly on a PS5 at this reveal event that, again, changed from the 5th to now the 29th. Now, I won't touch too much on it because I don't want to get off the topic. But what I'm talking about, if you didn't hear, Sony booked their place here in New York for the 29th at 7 p.m. So everyone is now saying that that's when the event is supposed to be. We will see. But again, it's just a leak. But Dreadpool, I want to get your opinion on this. Obviously, you heard everyone's opinion on it being 4-player co-op, drop in and out. It's going to have it's going to be Norse mythology. We saw that be very successful with God of War, which was amazing in 2018. But what's interesting with this leak is that it's going to be cross-generation release, meaning that it's going to release on the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, the PC, but it's also going to be optimized and releasing for the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. What advancements are you thinking about? And do you think that this huge double the size map, 4-player co-op, and everything that's going to come with it will see release on the older consoles?
Okay, I got a lot here for you then. Not, I know we're talking about gaming, but
Right.
I also watch shows like Josh Gates where they do archaeological finds, and they've actually found more stuff about the Vikings and their technology. So they were tradesmen, they were crafters, they were builders. They actually did a lot more stuff than history is actually able to do. So everything we learned from back then, they're just raiders. No, they weren't just raiders. They actually had brains. They had government. They had technology of their own. All right. So now picture that with the information we know as we're and more knowledge that we're gaining of this culture, not just their mythology, but the physical facts that they've actually left behind.
It was like they're actually like very advanced for the time compared to the rest of humanity, essentially, which is one of the reasons they were able to basically make it around the entire world. Like they've proven that the Vikings were on the coasts of Canada long before Columbus ever heard or whispered the word Americas, right? So
exactly, and that's all.
They're very intense culture. Yeah,
that's all with the crystal that they were able to find the crystal and actually look and actually navigate through the fog and get to America.
Their shipping technology, like to build the boats and stuff to get across open ocean, is staggering for the time. It just wasn't going down. Like they were truly advanced for the time. A lot of people hear advanced culture and they like to think today, they had iPads. It's like, no, back it up a bit. Alien advanced compared to the guys next door, right? Guys across the sea. They were very, very advanced, and unfortunately, we don't know too much revolving like their history, their music, their writing, things like that. Like we have runes and stuff, but they're very mysterious, which makes them
totally
interesting
too, I think.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. But they didn't have clowns, so they didn't have the
that was the only problem.
The keg was invented later on, but it's because they had barrels. Barrels didn't sound like a keg. But basically that with all that information we have, that could be our RPG element of the crafting and this, people they're actually doing this in trade. So now you're talking about something like more like a true RPG. Okay, so yet again, I'm blending the cultures of gaming. Okay, so we got it's no longer an RPG light. It could be more of an RPG like CD Projekt Red, with Cyberpunk. You're
with like the actual crafting of things.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now you have more stuff you can trade. So, yet again, Skyrim, let's throw all that stuff in there. So you can do all this stuff, build up your arsenal. Now, when we're talking about multiplayer, drop in 4, I don't see that. Because if I'm going to raid a village or a town or a city, I don't know about you, but 4 big guys right along with me or 3 other big guys right along with me, my size, 6'1", 6'2", nah. I mean, yeah, we'll take them on, no problem. But they didn't do that. They had a lot more people. They had a party.
Well, they did talk about full-scale wars.
Yes, and that's
in this league. So again, if you remember what they did with Odyssey, where it was an entire battlefield, but you had your small part in it. You had to get a certain amount of kills, kill a certain amount of commanders. This could be expanded with the 4-player co-op. It would be you and your 3 buddies that would have to take on and maybe control an area, and you obviously would have other Vikings fighting around you. It just would be it would be a wider scale fight, except you would just have your small part with everyone fighting around you.
4 humans and like 100+ AI all around you going nuts.
That's what it sounds. Yeah.
To me, I'm thinking, I don't know about you guys, but I'd rather have 16 players. Like,
damn, you want to go hardcore with it? Okay.
Wow,
yeah.
I'm on board.
The old Rainbow Six Ghost Recon, you used to be able to storm an island with 16 players.
That's correct. Yeah, so, you're absolutely right.
And that, why can't we do the same thing? Let's storm this village, 16 players. You still have your squads like we do now with Battlefield and Call of Duty. You still do all that, but now so you have an objective. as a group, as a war party, you're going
It would
across.
be interesting. What I got to be honest with you,
awesome,
the way you took this, which I didn't even see going, is magnificent, because I thought 4-player co-op was big enough. You know, oh, that's great. You're playing with 3 buddies, you know, but if you could open this up where, I mean, listen, I'm gonna take it to another level and think really crazy here. Could you imagine if it was like a 16 versus 16?
That was where I was going to get to also. Yes.
Your body parts are chopping off, heads, arms are flying.
Because now
guys are on the floor
plans.
grabbing their knee that used to be there. This is amazing.
I thought Dreadpool wanted to dial it down. Like, I need my single player, like commanding huge army. Like, yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, not 4-player, 16. Like, oh shit, okay.
No, I mean, like Boom said, and that's where I was going with too. Now you can actually have clans, because now you have, you know, we all saw the shows, Vikings. They also had inner turmoil within their clans.
Yes, they did.
So
yeah.
we can do the same thing. I forgot the MMORPG that was back in Sony had. It was like PlanetSide or PlanetScape.
Yeah, PlanetSide, I think. Yeah,
it
was huge. That was staggering.
Huge. But I mean, you know, it was more than just 16 versus 16. You had
like 300.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, something, I mean, it doesn't have to be that extravagant, but I mean, with the map world that big of most of Europe, come on, we can have all these factions, you know. All right, well, we're going over to England and we've taken over England. There's another faction that went over to France. There's another faction that's over by, further east of Germany, and we still have to navigate our cultures within each other, trading with each other, and also fighting with each other, not only the residents that we're invading. So there could be a lot of stuff there. There's a lot of possibilities, and with the newer technology that's coming out, it'll be able to handle that and then some, you know, and getting our current gen technology to handle that is going to be really the amazing part. You know, if they can push those boundaries to that effect, to that degree.
Well, listen, I put it to this way. Again, they had 2 years, and from what we understand, you got to remember, they might have been working on this for 3 years, because they have multiple teams doing multiple Assassin's Creed. So this particular team that was given an extra year, usually the development cycle is 2 years per team. So they had a year off, so they had an extra year. So they have a total of 3 years worth of development time. The potential for how big this game could actually be is menacing just to think about it. All I can say is that I am on board. I'm a big Assassin's Creed fan. Ubisoft in itself is probably, I mean, they're neck and neck, because I'm a huge Capcom fan. I have been a Capcom fan since, my God, since the NES days. I was a huge Capcom fan, and I've always been a fan of that company. Obviously, Resident Evil, the franchise, being my favorite franchise, but Ubisoft is right there. I buy all of their games, and I love their Assassin's Creed. But I want to move on to the next story, and I think I'm going to start with Shady on this one, but I have to bring up something, because obviously this is going to be big. We're going to be talking, of course, about Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. And shamefully enough, I guess Boom did not do his homework. I normally have pictures for every subject that we are going to cover, and I don't know why I don't have any of those. I guess I just completely slipped my mind. So we're just going to go with this regular boring ass screen that you see in front of you, where you see everyone's picture. Because I like being animated, but Shady, look, here's the thing. Knights of the Old Republic is a franchise that saw unbelievable success on the OG Xbox. And then obviously they brought an MMO to the PC much later on, where the story obviously was told in a big open world, player versus player kind of a Star Wars world. And we've heard some rumblings within the gaming industry, and the flurry of big time leaks that we're getting a Knights of the Old Republic. Now, obviously, currently as it stands, the Star Wars rights to make games is currently resting firmly with EA. From what I understand, they still have, I believe it's maybe 3 more years
I think
left
it's 4.
Okay, so then there you go. Okay,
Maybe
so
it's 3 or 4 either way.
Yeah,
They had
so
a
it's
10-year deal originally.
okay. So it's either 3 or 4 years, and obviously they've had it for a very long time, and depending on who you ask, some people will say that the Battlefront games were great. They enjoyed it. Some people that you ask may say that the Battlefield games weren't so great and they did not enjoy it. And it was, obviously with Battlefront 2, it was just a mess with the cash cow, and the loot boxes and everything. It just was just an utter mess. And then, of course, this past year in 2019, we saw the release of obviously Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order from Respawn Entertainment, and Respawn completely knocked it out of the park. Now, Shady, I know your feelings on that, but actually, we're not going to get into that too much because, again, every game is not for every gamer. But see, Knights of the Old Republic has my interest peaked because obviously we know that Revan, who was one of the main antagonists, but also the protagonist in the first one, has officially become canon within the Star Wars current universe. And in that same Bob Iger interview that I was telling you guys about, how he wants to expand the Marvel licenses to other developers to give, other developers a chance to produce incredible games. If they're willing to do that with Marvel, I have a very strange suspicion that in fact, once the contract is expired with EA, unless they pay EA to cancel out this contract sooner than later, this is going to happen to Star Wars. Now, we know that when Knights of the Old Republic released for the OG Xbox way back in the days, it was done by the legendary Bioware. Now, the problem with Bioware taking on a new Knights of the Old Republic is this, and this is my opinion, and I'm going to live and die on this sword. This is not the same Bioware. Now, I'm not a developer. I'm just a dude with a mic, so I can't say anything about developing games, but I can say with full understanding that this is not the same Bioware. And, obviously, depending on who you ask, they've kind of whiffed twice, right? You go back to Mass Effect Andromeda. A lot of people did not like that game. It wasn't the Mass Effect game that they wanted based on the trilogy that came before it. Okay, right? Obviously, Anthem came out. It was one of my most anticipated games in 2019. I started playing it again when I got my new TV. It's the first game that I put on because I wanted to get back into it. And I put about maybe 10, maybe 12 more hours into it. And it's just not the BioWare game that I wanted. So I put it back down. Now, obviously, if you've been listening to this show and many of the other shows that Shady has been a part of it, you know that he's a huge Anthem fan. He has put hundreds, I want to say even maybe 1,000 hours into that game. And that's great. That's awesome. But Shady, my question to you is this. Do you think that the current team at BioWare, with what they're trying to do with Anthem, with supposedly hard at work at the next Dragon Age, do you think they still contain the chops to do the Star Wars license, justice? More and more importantly, the Knights of the Old Republic license justice.
Yeah, I do actually. It's Bioware Austin is more or less taking over the Anthem.
Yes,
from
that is
now
correct.
on. The Edmonton studio, I'm assuming, is both working on their Bioware, or not Bioware, the Mass Effect and Dragon Age is what they've said.
Yep.
Both of those, of course, are big franchises, have lots of fans, but EA's got 4 years left, which is kind of the perfect time it takes to develop a badass, insane AAA, big open RPG type deal. And they could maybe end their contract with this game and give BioWare the time. I'd say rework what they have. Maybe if there's anything for Mass Effect, like what do you call it? The Fallen Order was actually something else before it became a Star Wars game. Like, it was actually reworked into this IP. He kind of talked about it when they got their Game Award. He'd said, like, they came out and stealth launched one of the greatest battle royale games. Titanfall franchise, of course, this gen has been big for them. And then they started a new IP, rebooted it, and launched this third-person Star Wars game, which was out of their wheelhouse. And that confirmed it for me, because I thought it was maybe something else, and I'm pretty sure it was. So they could do it again, and just, if they're far enough into Mass Effect, which is already, like, I think Mass Effect was sort of the sequel in gameplay and storytelling wise anyways, not of course Star Wars sequel, but like in the way that the game is itself presented to those old games. You have the dialogue trees you're making, you're branching through the developing story, it's got lots of action in it and whatnot, but it was third person real time instead of turn-based at all, which is what Knights of the Republic had, a kind of a combination of both. And I think that was just the advancement in gameplay for them as far as their RPGs was what Mass Effect is. So if they're doing something with Mass Effect gameplay wise, I think they could take that shell and start writing an insane Star Wars story. And I know Bioware has lost a lot of talent, and primarily the talent they've lost is their story talent, unfortunately.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
When you play Mass Effect, the last game, the gameplay is incredible. The graphics are incredible.
I love the shooting mechanics and
it's
drama.
So good.
I really
the movement is nice. It's good. Like, and the graphics are amazing. Say what you will about the Frostbite being difficult for some of these developers to use. Once it's out, my God, is it easy on the eyes. It is so crisp and just looks incredible on every game that uses it. So to do something like that with Star Wars, I think they can. And then story-wise, I'm pretty sure EA Motive, I believe they're called, that's kind of like their story division now. They would come in and assist with that. I could even see guys from Disney and Lucasfilm coming in again and overseeing and helping out. I think one of the reasons this game is even being greenlit, because I'm pretty sure EA can't make anything they want with Star Wars. It's all a collaboration between what Disney wants and EA is willing and able to make, is because it was heavily rumored that the next big Star Wars trilogy is going to go and be in the Old Republic, but that was with the Game of Thrones guys. They've quit. So whether or not they stick with that and just bring in someone
we're hearing
else
a couple of things. A particular website, a YouTuber that I love, I watch every day. Like, you guys think that just because I'm a content creator that all I do is write and play games. Guys, I watch as much YouTube as you do, and one of my favorite sites, and Josh is not going to even know who I am. This channel is too small. If you're interested in unbelievable content, if you want really up to the minute Star Wars and Marvel content, the Den of Nerds is the place to go. It's one of my favorite sites. I listen to it almost every freaking day, and they talked about it just recently, Shady, about how either the High Republic or the Knights of the Old Republic, meaning, because the High Republic, apparently, from what was explained to me, is like 200 years difference from A New Hope, whereas the Old Republic is like thousands of years.
Yeah.
And listen, I'll put it to this way: what you're saying, you hit the nail on the head. Supposedly, they're moving away from anything Skywalker related, and they're going to be going in a different direction. And it makes sense that they would kind of be like, you know what, the next game you're going to work on could potentially be
intertwined in that. And the past of Star Wars is honestly so much more busy than the present Star Wars has been. Like, there's thousands of Sith and thousands of Jedi, and it's just so much more of a busy time period as far as
it's a vast
all that
universe,
stuff goes.
dude.
Yeah, so they can do whatever they want back then, of course, and because it's so far in the past, they're not tied by anything that could happen today. I think it'd just be an awesome timepiece to of course, run around in and play games in, but to watch on the big screen again or to read new books on. I loved reading the Star Wars novels. It's unfortunate that the entirety of Star Wars was locked down to just EA for 10 years, because I don't think any publisher has the capacity to do something like Star Wars truly justice. I hope that after this deal, it is piecemealed out. If anyone's interested, come to us and we'll talk and go make the game you want with Star Wars. I think that'd be best.
I think that's the route that Bob Iger wants to see the video game aspect of Disney go. This being locked down to one developer and giving them the responsibility to be the only ones that represent your company is something I believe, and again, this is coming out of an investors meeting, that they want to move away from, which is why
they can just put out so much more product by doing
absolutely,
that. Like EA, they weren't going to stop making Battlefield games and stop making Need for Speed and stop making FIFA and just do Star Wars. They couldn't.
Or whatever else.
That's kind of squeezing everything in. And like you said, some people weren't happy with the Battlefront games. I absolutely adored them. I mean, I know I'm not the only one. They sold huge. There was like 17 to 20 million for the first, and similar
the new DLC
to the second.
just dropped a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, all the DLC in the newest one is free. All that microtransaction garbage was fixed within weeks of launch, but it just got dragged on forever as the ultimate example of how it was done wrong. And so many people think it still is, but anyone who hasn't yet, or if you have EA access, it's in there. You can play it. It's dirt cheap in the store. The amount of content that has been added since launch is staggering. The game's player base has seen a huge turnaround. It's in like the top 20 played on Xbox, anyways, up in Canada. Anyway, it's a different list for every region, but it's seen a huge turnaround. And there's really no other Star Wars multiplayer to come. Last generation, all we got was Lego games and two Force Unleashed, which were really good story-based hack and slash, single player. Yeah, they were great, but nothing multiplayer. And I needed to get my Star Wars multiplayer on, and for me, anyways, they delivered. Those are some of my most played games this generation, and the newest one especially is very recommended to get back in there. Rolling around as those droidicas from like the prequels is incredible. It feels so goddamn good. I can't say enough good things about that game. It's just such a feel-good multiplayer experience, and it nails that Star Wars aesthetic like no other.
Well, listen, you had a lot of great points, and I mean, obviously I had to go to you first because you are our resident Star Wars nut, if I may say so, and I'm right there with you. Dude. I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, and I am proud to say that in 1977, I was sitting in the seat in City Cinema in the Bronx, and I saw that Star Wars for the first time. Yes, I'm that old, and I saw it when I was 7. So I have loved Star Wars. Even some of the ho-hum movies, I have found a way to love it because it is Star Wars. If I can be critical, but I can also say that I love Star Wars. But Tempest Son, I want to go to you next on this, and I kind of want to bring you down a lane that has a lot of hypotheticals involved. Okay, now we know, right, that EA is hard at work at a new Mass Effect, which they're starting from. Casey Hudson is probably hard at work and trying to reboot that franchise in the way that we know that he can, right? And we know that they're hard at work at the Dragon Age, and we've heard a bit of horror stories with what's going on with Dragon Age, and I loved Inquisition. Inquisition was fantastic, and they kind of did that. They kind of hoped that kind of development technique where there's crunch was going to work with Anthem, and it didn't. So they have 2 big projects that are not out. Now, according to my notes, they signed this exclusive deal with Disney in 2013. So, Shady, you were correct. It's 3 years left. In 2023, I believe in the first month of the year, that contract is expired. I don't think Disney is going to re-up. With that said, coming and hanging out with me in Speculation Town, I have a proposition for you. I want to throw it out there. Again, folks, this is just me having some fun on my show. It's no rumor. I'm not starting one. This is, again, Speculation Town. Great place to come hang out, especially if you run multiple podcasts. Here's my question to you. Knights of the Old Republic 1 was done by Bioware. But the second one happened to be done by Obsidian. Now, depending on who you ask, some may suggest that the Obsidian one was better. Now, I love them both equally. But you cannot deny that what Obsidian touches literally turns to gold. So here's my question to you. What if Disney is willing to sit on their hands for 3 years? What if they announce that Obsidian, which is now a Microsoft first party, is going to get the Knights of the Old Republic license in January of 2023? Is that the team you would like to see take on the Knights of the Old Republic franchise?
Well, what I'm about to say, Knights of the Old Republic 1 is in my top 3 games of all time. Love the game. I think it is borderline the perfect game. It is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Although the second one is not in my top 3 games of all time, it gives the first a run for its money. It really does. It is a fantastic game. And the fact that they took the reins and went with it. Some of the characters had way more backstory than you ever thought they were, or that they had. It's awesome game. And Obsidian is very, 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 very well equipped to do just that. I don't really see them giving the license to just one company anymore if they do take it away from
not all of Star Wars, simply just the Knights of the Old Republic.
And yes, I could totally see that happening, and I could see Microsoft fronting the bill for that. I don't see why not. I mean, I know me especially, it's in my top 3, but when I think of Xbox, I think of, Halo and stuff, but one of the games I think of more than any of them is Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, that game was only, it was on PC, but it was only on for console. It was only the Xbox, man. The only place you could play that game. And it's kind of has its identity there. I mean, Bioware I can't believe Microsoft didn't buy Bioware.
I know, it is the biggest shame in the company's existence. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, when I think about all the games that Bioware had exclusive on console to Microsoft, it just blows my mind. But yeah, Obsidian could blow it out of the park. They really could. They could do it, and it would be absolutely amazing. They just proved with Outer Worlds that they still have the chops to make interesting characters, interesting story, good gameplay. I mean, that would be phenomenal. This rumor, though, about the remake, reboot, whatever it is, I'm actually more excited for this than my other top 3 game of all time, which is Final Fantasy VII. And the reason why is because this game is feasible to do in today's standards, and you're not going to have to break it up in multiple games. So that instantly right there makes it better for me personally. You could do it in one game. I mean,
it would be an epic 80-hour romp, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, they could, especially if they make it bigger. But like, if you think, even if you do pretty much everything, the original was still only like 40, 50 hours, if I'm not mistaken. So it wasn't the biggest game ever by any stretch of the imagination, but they could definitely do it in one. And with today's graphics and everything like that, I don't know what they would do. Like, if it's just like a remake, but in the veins of like Resident Evil 2, like what they just did, giving it that kind of love. I mean, that in itself would be perfect for me. I think the leak kind of alluded to it more being like a reimagining, but almost like a KOTOR 3. So I don't know what to believe as far as what the story goes. But listen, man, this is great. I never thought this would actually happen, and it's kind of sounding like this might be the truth. Like, I think this is a strong rumor from what I'm hearing. Like, this is a strong possibility that we get this game. And God, so many thoughts just rush by me. I don't know what to think. I don't know if I'm more scared or more excited for it. If the question was, would I want a Resident Evil 2 remake treatment for this game, but for Knights of the Old Republic 1, or do I want Knights of the Old Republic 3? I gotta be honest with you, man. Seeing Manon, we've seen Tatooine and newer graphics, but just Kashyyyk, I mean, the deep, somewhat dark, just almost horrible sometimes storylines in this game, whether you do the light side or the dark side. I mean, it was deep stuff, especially Kashyyyk dealing with like the slavery and the Wookiees and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's deep storylines, and if they could tackle that now and just improve on the gameplay, make your character voiced, I would love that personally. Give it a character creator, but then just have the original voice actors revoice. I mean, I don't even know if they'd have to, because the voice acting was great back then. Even for today's standards, it was still good. But I would actually pick that. I would rather have the RE2 treatment on this game and just have it be a really, really good remake. Because I don't know where you take the story. And the reason I say that is because Disney's involved now. Is Disney going to want a new story involving something like slavery with Wookiees or, what have you, or just the horrible things that you can do if you pick the dark side? I just don't see Disney playing ball with that, to be honest with you. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but I think they'd be much more willing to just take something that exists already and giving it an extremely new, fresh coat of paint. You know what I mean?
So, Disney blows up planets like the rest of them do in their movies.
That's I know. Yeah, you got me there. That's a good point. They did kill trillions of people and
no blink of an eye.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. But anyway, so I don't know. I'm nervous but extremely excited because this is believable to me. Doing this, Final Fantasy VII being 3, 4, whatever games, I'm going to be 95.
It's probably going to be 3 games across 10 years, maybe. I don't know.
If we're lucky. Who knows? But no, this I could picture this happening just within the next couple of years, which is amazing to me. So,
listen, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, the fact that we're even openly currently talking about a Knights of the Old Republic, which we never thought we'd ever see fruition, and here we are. We're talking about it on this show. Now, Gaming Forte, I want to go to you next on this because this original leak comes the way of the place was Cinelinux. And they stated that their source told them that this remake is more along the lines of a sequel that grabs elements from the original games. Now, my only question to you is, again, I asked earlier, and I'll ask you again, with EA's track record, right, which hasn't been good, with BioWare's track record, that kind of hasn't really been good. Now, there are some people, like my very good friend Philly Eagle, he happened to love Anthem, and he loved Mass Effect Andromeda. We have someone on this panel that still plays Anthem. Like I said, for me, I'm not saying the game was terrible. It just wasn't what I wanted. So I put, 10 hours into it, and I was able to walk away, and I'm like, you know what, that's fine. My question to you, though, Forte, is the way that Disney is now really thinking and positioning the Star Wars franchise, do you think that they would trust EA and BioWare with the Knights of the Old Republic, or would they just wait on this franchise?
I have no... Look, man, I can't trust Disney at this point with Star Wars.
What about The Mandalorian?
Okay, you batting 1 out of what? 1 out of 10?
But it was awesome.
It was awesome.
Awesome. You're right, but it was also Dave Filoni working on that, and not Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, they need to put Filoni in charge for sure.
Exactly. Now, if you put
Dave Filoni he should get his own. I mean, listen. I'll put it this way. I don't want to cut you off, but just give these Star Wars fans from, again, the Den of Nerds and plenty of other places like Emerge the Awesome is another one that is fantastic. That they talk a lot about Star Wars. And the rumor that we're hearing is Kathleen Kennedy is stepping down in 2020. And taking her place is going to be Jon Favreau.
Awesome.
And supposedly the rumor for D23, and again, this is all speculation town that I've listened to on other thing, is that this D23, which is their big Disney conference, you're going to have Dave Filoni. You're going to have Kevin Feige. You're going to have what was the guy's name I just mentioned? Oh my God. Jon Favreau. Yeah, Jon Favreau. Thank you very much for the save. And guess what, folks? The rumor is that they're going to bring up George Lucas, and he is going to re-enter the fold, and the 4 of them are going to take Star Wars in a new, better direction. And I think that is possible.
It'd be huge. Dave Filoni is responsible for some of the best Star Wars of all time with that Clone Wars series. Yeah, man. The last season's about to drop in a week or two on Disney Plus, and I cannot wait. It's going to bleed right into the Revenge of the Sith movies. I'm hyped.
Yeah, but overall, I would be super excited. I was very excited when they announced that Revan was part of the series. That basically just opened up the whole expanded universe that we were getting. So Knights of the Old Republic is such a interesting game. It's like most people that play that game love it to death. It's pretty much no flaws in that game. To get an updated version of that game would be pretty incredible. The biggest thing is I just want to see progress in the Star Wars franchise. I don't want to go back to stuff like that just to go back for back's sake. You know, I
gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense, dude.
I mean, because if they're gonna do it, I need them to do it right. I need the origin story of Knights of the Old Republic, and not just a time back in that time period. You know, that's what I hope Disney doesn't do. I want them to give me the full experience. So if they're going to do it in the game, I honestly would rather see it in the movie first and then them bring the game out, because I think a lot of people don't even remember that. Like, a lot of people just don't remember that time period because the game was so much longer ago. So granted, it will take longer to make the movie than make the game, because the game's probably already been in the works if they're actually working on something like that. But I wouldn't be opposed to it. I just want it to be done right. I mean, that's the last safe bastion us Star Wars fans had, which is the Old Republic and all the books that we read. If you read the books, you're not tainted by the things that Disney did over the last 4 years to Star Wars. You still have similar hope that this is going to turn out right. So that's my only fear in it. When it comes to who does it, I mean, look, Respawn did a really good job with the last Star Wars game. So
yes,
that does not make up for the atrocities that happened in the first two Battlefront games. You know, they weren't bad games in general. I actually enjoyed them a lot, but they didn't do Star Wars no favors by the things that they implemented in those games, and taking so long to actually fix them and bring them up to code and stuff. That was some of the biggest problems I had in it. Like I said, Respawn fixed a lot of the issues by giving us a straight single player narrative when it came to a very, very good Star Wars game. But Knights of the Old Republic, that's a completely different beast. That's like Jedi Outcast and stuff like that. That's stuff that I don't want to get messed up, and I want the right studio to do it. And I think at the end of this, I think Disney probably will pull that right away from EA and give it to somebody else. And studios like oh man, there's just so many studios out there that I can think could just make an amazing Star Wars game. Like Naughty Dog, I think could make a really good third-person Star Wars.
Oh yes, they sure could.
I mean, that's always been a dream.
Ninja Theory could do one too.
Could do one. You also got not a Insomniac. What's the last studio Microsoft just purchased? I keep forgetting the name of it.
Tim Schafer's company.
The one before that. Good God, drawing a blank now.
In Exile.
No.
Obsidian?
What else did they make?
That's the thing. I'm just drawing blanks right now, man.
That's okay. We'll come back around to it.
So many studios now. It's like I'm drawing blanks on all the studios Microsoft has. The Outer Worlds.
Oh, Obsidian. Yeah, well, of course. Obsidian. Yeah.
I mean, they made the second one.
They made the second one. That's what I was thinking. They made the second one, and I love the second one. And I think giving something like that back to them and allowing them to finish out what they started would be another good thing. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. I don't think you'll ever see one developer or one company have the Star Wars license outside of Disney themselves. I think piecemeal it out to different people. They'll probably vet and see what ideas they have and go from there. But after this 3 years, I think Disney's in the business of ringing everything in so they can make.
Well, they want control.
They want well. Let me ask you this though: if the rumors of bringing back the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Lucas back in, you kind of like he would only come back in if he has some type of control over it. Though.
Well, I don't necessarily mean control of what they're going to do in regards to the film. I think what the issue that you see with Disney is that all of their pieces of content that were under contracts, all those contracts are expiring, and they're going to have control over. Like for instance, right now they can't let another company make a Star Wars game, even if they want to. They'd have to buy out the rest of their contract.
The rest of EA's contract, right?
Yeah,
and that's what I think they're going to do. I don't think they're going to buy it out. I think they're going to let that run its course, because at this point, you probably would have did, if they were going to do that, they would have did it during Battlefront. I think because there would have been half of the contract still left up, and they would have been like, okay, well, at this point, it probably be more cost effective just to let them keep it. And by the time the next game is developed, it's probably going to be a couple of years out anyways, and that contract is going to run its course by the time the game releases. But somebody else will be in control of the Star Wars license, just on a company or developer basis, not the whole franchise like it is now.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see exactly what happens. I'm in the camp that I think once the contract is expired, I think they'll allow EA to put out under their banner. They'll license them a game, especially you saw what Respawn did with Jedi Fallen Order.
Another chance at it. They'll get a They'll get a Fallen Order too. I mean, because that's why, and that's also why I think, because that's not going to come. I don't think that game's going to come during the rest of this contract. Unless they've been working on something that we don't know about. That's a game that's going to probably come right towards the tail end of it, or right at the end of it.
Maybe, yeah. I'm still holding hopes for Titanfall 3, but that's because I'm a huge nerd and a fan of that. But yeah, listen, again, I'm interested to see, for me personally, as a gamer who supports all the consoles, I would like to see other teams get a crack at a Star Wars game. Right. Because it would be really interesting to see their take on the franchise, and obviously what games they would make. They would be creating new worlds, new characters, and of course they would all be canon. Wilmy Hood, I want to get your opinion on this. Obviously, you've heard everyone's opinion about this, and again, my hypothetical shenanigans about Obsidian getting a shot at Star Wars could happen. I mean, if they don't sign another exclusive deal with EA, which I think we're all in the agreement that that's not going to happen, Microsoft could put a bid in to say, hey, listen, Obsidian, they're the best RPG makers in the world. What do you let us get a shot at it? And of course, that particular Star Wars game would of course be exclusive to the PC and the Xbox platform, because Obsidian is a first party studio. In your opinion, like myself, do you want to see Disney expand the amount of developers making Star Wars games so we get more than we're just getting from EA?
You know me, Boom. I'm really not a Star Wars fan. So I have played them, but to me, honestly, it doesn't matter one way or the other. I just never gotten into Star Wars. And like you, I did see the original many, many years ago. We won't talk about how long ago it was. But I just never gotten into Star Wars at all.
It was back in the 1900s, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I love it. That's great.
And yes, we did have electricity and televisions even back then.
We didn't have gas lamps. We didn't have gas lamps. There actually was electricity.
Before the internet.
Yeah, there was life before the internet.
Yeah, that is very true. Well, listen, this is actually a great topic. I didn't realize that we were closing in on 2 hours. It felt like we're almost at 2 hours, which is crazy, but it's been awesome. But obviously, Dreadpool, we have to get your opinion on this, because Star Wars is a big license. As we know, after the last Star Wars movie, which unfortunately is the lowest rated on the Rotten Tomatoes score, but then Rotten Tomatoes isn't really the telling tale here, is actually done very well with viewers. A lot of the casual audience loved the last Star Wars film. A lot of the diehards, they didn't like it as much, and that's fine.
It was my most fun. It was my most fun out of all the Disney movies. I don't know if it's just because I've given up now and I'm just there for a good time and pew pew and hear some Star Wars music, but I thought it was a good time. It went fast, but I liked it a lot more than the one before it. My God.
Yeah, I actually know it's funny you should say that, because I only saw The Last Jedi once. I saw it in the theaters with my brother, and I never watched it again because I just didn't like the director. I didn't like the way they portrayed Luke. I watched it today. I gotta be honest with you. Still not my favorite, but it was definitely not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It kind of grew on me.
It's a 2-hour trigger fest for me, man. Whereas Rise of the Skywalker, I was grinning ear to ear almost the whole movie. I was just with it. I enjoyed it. It was fun.
I was just like J.J. Abrams strikes again.
Yeah, I like JJ. A lot of people don't like him.
Like what he had to work with, the man pulled off a miracle, in my opinion. Man,
funny thing is, JJ even said that Brian left him a lot of loopholes or open-ended stories because nothing was actually closed that they had to work with, and it gave him other inspiration and ideas to take this new movie. So he gave him some kudos, even though a lot of people didn't like what he did.
Well, I got news for you. I'm not sure whether you heard behind the scenes, but J.J. Abrams and what's his name?
You're gonna fight in a cage match?
They don't like each other at all. Yeah, Ryan Johnson. They don't like each other at all. And again, they'll play coy and nice, in the public eye. But from what we understand, they're not friends.
Yeah, no, I know. But I was just saying that from what he said, it gave him other ideas for the storyline, even though they don't see eye to eye, because they had to do something with what they did, and it was some of the stuff they never even thought of because they didn't have to. Now they had to come up with something, so it gave them another direction to go with it to close up those loops.
Well, I mean, listen, it's going to be interesting, but I want to hear what you have to say for you as a Star Wars fan, and seeing what EA has done. They've had the license for 7 years, right? Mm-hmm. In 7 years, they've put out 3 titles, one of which is revered, which is again done by Respawn, and revered in a positive way. Depending on, again, who you ask. Some people enjoyed Battlefront, some people didn't. We've had, at least from what we know, 2 major cancellations from Star Wars games that were supposed to come out under EA's label, and they didn't, and they were canceled, and teams were closed down. I mean, do you want to see? I mean, the real simple question here, as we close out tonight's absolutely incredible show, is: do you want to see EA take the reins of Knights of the Old Republic, or are you on the fence and saying, "Hey, Disney, why don't you just hold up a second and wait for that contract to expire and let people, maybe a more inept company like an Obsidian, take on that franchise?"
Well, unfortunately, I don't want to sit on it, because if we sit on it, that means we have to wait even longer for another game. So let EA do whatever they're going to do. I mean, they've proven it with Jedi Fallen Order that Respawn can put out a good game. You know what I mean? So they can put out a good game, not just a Star Wars game, a good game. Battlefront 2. Now, I played a couple weeks ago with a group of friends, and we actually had a good time. When it first came out, I hated it, and I was like, man, this is going to be great. I was so hyped up to play this, and everything that happened. You know what I mean? But they actually made good again towards the end of the game's life cycle. And some people are saying that the game's not dead. No, it's not, but it's towards the end. But guess what? Everybody that wanted to go on there at first left. So now you got to try to get people to come back on. I hadn't played for almost a year. So what does that tell you? It tells you that they screwed up. Now, if we can get some games out, great. I still want Disney to open up their minds and have an open idea of who they could get to do other games in Star Wars. It doesn't have to be Battlefront. Let EA have Battlefront if that's the way you want to do it. But I don't know. This will blow your mind. I want Ninja Theory to do it.
I'm right there with you.
They've already done a Star Wars game, so they already have experience. They helped out Avalanche Studios with Disney Infinity.
Oh yes, that's right. They did,
and they did the combat for Star Wars in Disney Infinity. So they already have an idea there. I mean, and if we look at what they've done so far, imagine the combat that they know how to do, the graphics that they know how to do, the story that they know how to do. And did we not put headphones on to play Hellblade? What do you think is going to happen when we put headphones on and we're playing a Force character that can hear the Force beings somewhere else, that like their previous Jedi Master or another Sith Lord, if you're a Jedi, trying to manipulate them? You know what I'm saying? Imagine those possibilities now. Now you're playing, you're like, who is talking to me and who's guiding me? Is it Am I a Jedi and is the Sith guiding me to this? Am I going towards the dark side, or is it, I'm a Sith and I'm here for the domination and destruction of everything? But who's talking in the back of my head? Who's guiding me? Is that my Sith Lord that I abolished and now I'm the Lord, and I'm going to go through and, as the master, I'm going to go through and now I'm having second thoughts. Is it me that's doing this? Is it the Force that's talking to me? There's a lot of things that they can do with this stuff. There's possibilities, but if you close it down to just one company, you're not going to get that. Respawn, at least they act as a separate entity from EA. They've been able to do that and not use Frostbite. They're using Unreal, and they were able to do something good with games that they've produced. So if we can get that mentality of different people and different ideas, not just a corporate, hey, let's push this thing out, make some money, and get our investors money. Let's do this for the good of the gamers, and we can make money off of it.
Yeah, I mean, again, listening to Bob Iger, who he's obviously he's a CEO, right? He has the corporation to take care of, and he has to make his investors, the tons of investors, millions of dollars. And in this day and age where people don't want to be locked down to one company making an IP. I see this deal being done, and if EA shits the bed, which they could potentially do, maybe LucasArts or Disney just buys the remainder, pays for the remainder of the contract, and says that the contract is over. We bought out the contract. They had to pay millions of dollars back to EA, and we're going to start shopping around the license. And you never know who you're going to see get it. Obsidian making an RPG Star Wars game in the form of a rebooted Knights of the Republic, or even Knights of the Republic 3 is possible. Someone in the panel mentioned a Naughty Dog. Could you imagine a Naughty Dog making a Star Wars game? Holy shit, man!
13, bring that back.
Yeah, I mean, 1313 looked very promising. Fortunately, we'll never get that. But all I'm going to say is this: first of all, we had over 320 people watching live, which is amazing. And obviously, this show and all the shows that I do would not be shows if I didn't have people that actually watched it. So honestly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for tuning in and making this one of the more successful shows. And the amount of views that I have gotten in the last, 2020 is off to a raging successful start. And that's thanks to the community's outstanding support. And of course, I have to thank everybody for the super chat donations. Obviously, that helps power the show. We have a couple new channel members in the blue, and of course, Wilmy Hood, who was on the panel. Thank you guys so much for that. But of course, I want to get to my panel, and we can't do these shows without having an incredible panel to give their opinions on what's going on. So we'll get our guests out of here and our regular panel members. Wilmy Hood, I want to go to you first, dude. Listen, you have an amazing show. And I think we have to get more eyes on your podcast. You also have a horror cast, which I've been in the chat a couple of times, which is really interesting because I love horror. And do me a favor, tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, and if they're an a-hole, get blocked. But more importantly, check out your YouTube channel.
You had to throw that in there, didn't you?
Yeah, of course I had to.
You can find me every Wednesday night at Gaming Beyond the Box on Wilmy Hood on YouTube. Every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, we have a podcast, me and the Forking crew. We talk about all the interesting gaming stuff with our flair of jokes and comedy. We just try to make you laugh, and we managed to throw some, talk in there about games on occasion. And we do the horror cast we try to do it every 2 to 3 weeks a month. This week we didn't do one. It's been kind of slow. Not a lot of new stuff coming out unless you want to just hear us talk about Dr. Sleep. And you can find me on Twitter at Wilmy Hood. Pretty much anywhere, just type in Wilmy Hood and I'm on there. PC, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and that's about it.
A horror cast. I thought it was a horror cast. Oh, baby. What's going on?
You've been talking to Forkboy, haven't you?
Yeah, probably.
Oh my goodness. Well, listen, dude, it's great to have you on. Love working with you, and of course, your generosity towards strangers cannot be denied. And please, I saw what you put in the Twitter about how you got some nasty messages. Don't listen. These knuckleheads have no idea what real life is, and like I said in the response to your tweet, anyone that is, and I'm going to get a little vogue here for a second, so pardon my French. Anyone that ostracizes another human being for being genuine and giving is a fucking asshole. So don't be that asshole. If someone is being generous and giving and caring, you slap that person on the ass and say good job. Don't be a dick about it because it's not you, because jealousy gets you nowhere. But Dreadpool, I want to thank you for being here, dude. Obviously, you flew in usually with your cape today. You kind of just tucked that in and you wore your 3-piece suit. But of course, love your opinions and everything that you do. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you. But more importantly, are you going to be starting, a YouTube channel and doing more work on that?
I am trying to. I just ordered a new CPU for my 10-year-old PC, so I should get some more power out of this thing. I am milking this PC to the bone before I go ahead and get like the next Ryzen variation and everything to go for that. So it's been glitching out. I actually had 98% skip frames, and I'm like, are you kidding me? So I'm trying. I'm working on it. It's not an easy thing collecting money to build what you need. But
you did great, dude, and I appreciate you being here, dude. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm doing what I can, and I appreciate you inviting me ahead of time. And this is a great topic. When you sent it to me for everything, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be fire tonight. This is awesome. I can't wait to talk about it. I was all itchy and nervous to like wait that long, because I was like, man, I don't want to like spill the beans on what we're going to be talking about. But yeah, it was a fun night. Great to see everybody that was on the chat, and nice interaction with everybody. You can find me on Twitter, Dreadpool, and the O's are actually zeros. And then from there on, YouTube, Mixer, my gamer tag on Xbox, even Stadia. It's Dreadpool, all caps. And still working on Twitch too. So that's the real Dreadpool with underscores.
Well, listen, dude, thank you so much again for being here. And obviously, all of their information will be in the show notes should you want to follow and subscribe to any of their channels. And So Shady, I want to thank you so much for being here. We didn't get a chance to talk about two particular topics, and I'm going to bring forward to this Friday's Breakfast with Boom. I'm very interested to hear about one particular gentleman that you have talked about on Twitter. I won't say his name. I'm going to save it for Friday morning show. But do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can find you, and more importantly, where else are you podcasting on?
Sounds good, Boom. As always, thanks for having me a part of your two shows, one of which was tonight. It's Primetime Gaming on Monday nights. The other being Breakfast with Boom, Friday mornings. I've had an absolute great time over here with you for almost the last year solid here, man. Yes. It's been absolutely great. Wicked community. Thank you, everybody, for coming out and listening to us all discuss gaming, participating in the chat and whatnot. You guys power the show. Absolutely fantastic of everybody. I am So Shady on Twitter at the Sesh Empire. Stand up, get recognized, hit the follow button, become an agent. None of this pleb stuff. Don't just linger and whatnot. Interact, man. I tweet a lot. Anything that you like, hit the like button. Anything you dislike, by all means, let me know. I enjoy interacting with everybody that interacts with me. You can find me on those two shows. I'm always playing games online on Xbox. I'm just So Shady on there. Thanks everyone again for coming out. I'll see you on Friday morning. Happy gaming.
Well, thanks so much, dude. Really appreciate that. And Gaming Forte, dude, thank you so much for being here. Your intellect and, of course, your gaming knowledge is well represented on every show that you're on, and you are on quite a few of them. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can find you, but more importantly, check out your other works, but also your outstanding and very active, I may say, YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, definitely got back in the role on that one. So great show as always. Super excited to always be on the podcast with you guys. It's always a dream come true. But you can catch me over at the Gaming Forte on YouTube and Gaming_Forte on Twitter. We also got the Brap Attack, Basic Radio Podcast on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. I'll actually be on RDX tomorrow with Diller and them at 8 tomorrow. So check us out over there.
Very nice, dude.
Oh yeah, be over there for the first time with those gentlemen.
Cool,
and
man.
You already know about the show today, and then we got Crossfire on Friday nights, and every once in a while make that appearance whenever Slow Mo does something stupid on Scumcast. I gotta pull up on them every once in a while. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 CT with the Ash and Luca and everybody over there.
Oh, and don't forget, Forte, we're doing a
cast.
We're doing a split cast Wednesday night.
We sure are. Yeah. So 8 o'clock over on Woomy Woods channel. We're doing basically we're just breaking up the podcast. So Brat will be on his show from 8 to 9, and his team will come over to our show on Brat's channel from 9 to 10. So
that sounds great, dude.
Podcast is going to be something fun. Can't wait for that. And that starts at 8 o'clock on Woomy Hood's channel.
Nice. Yep. Well, that sounds like that's no one should miss that. That sounds like that's going to be.
It's going to be entertaining.
That's like an X-Men teaming up with the Avengers kind of a situation. That's what I'm thinking. So yeah, everyone tune in for that. That's going to be a very interesting, and certainly last but in no way least, Tempest Sun, dude. First of all, I'm glad that we were able to get into the Assassin's Creed. As you remember, I had pulled that story. Oh, yeah. Because I know you really wanted to be here for that.
Thank you, man.
And I'm glad we were able to talk about it. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, get assassinated by you by online multiplayer.
My gamer tag is Tempest Sun, and on Twitter, I'm at the Tempest Sun. I just want to say thank you, as always, for giving me an outlet to spew my opinions all over the internet. I appreciate it. As far as some housekeeping quick, if you are interested in Phantasy Star Online 2, the closed beta got announced. It is February 7th, and they might close the signups soon. I don't know, so just sign up. Hopefully you get in. I don't know if I got in or not. I am hoping beyond all hope. And
you have to get in, dude. You're the biggest fan going.
Yeah, if I get in, I will tell you everything I know on one of these shows here. And also me, just, I got kids. My wife is pregnant with another one, and I'm having a baby girl. I just wanted to announce that.
Nice.
So,
dude.
yeah.
Congratulations.
2 boys, 2 girls. I got to keep it even. I don't know how that happened, but it did. So, so I'm excited. But
well, congratulations on that. I'm glad the missus is definitely feeling better. I know she was a little bit under the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, dude, this has been a great show. Real quick before we get on out of here, Spider-Man drops a $5 super chat, and he says, with all the rumors and leaks about the PlayStation 5, plus the no-show at any conference in a year, and Sony won't be at E3 2020, do you think the PS5 is behind schedule? Well, the newest rumor that dropped that we're probably going to be going into on Breakfast with Boom is, again, a rumor, folks. Apparently, Sony is reworking the PlayStation 5's design, meaning that they're changing some chips inside. I don't know if that's true. I don't think it would, with only 11 months, I don't think they could do that.
No, they're quiet and not showing because they just don't have the
they just the
don't goods have this time around, if you will.
Yeah, well, I
said it.
We're going to be talking about that probably. But listen, everyone, have a fantastic night. And of course, like I started with the show, and I will, of course, end with the show. Folks, it doesn't cost anything to be nice, and real simple. Treat others how you want to be treated, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome time. Take care, and we'll see you next Monday evening on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming.